and all seasons.
Surface chart for 5 o'clock this morning.
It was the weather at Fremantle that brought to the 26th events of the America's Cup a new dimension, and sometimes high drama. You took a gamble on whether or not the doctor would call. The doctor being the cleansing high summer wind that mostly springs up mid-afternoon. If it doesn't cool, you can float out there like the Marie Celeste. But when it does, it can be like rounding Cape Horn. You need a cast-iron stomach, a nerve of steel, and the balance of a high-wire acrobat. For landlubbers, there were all manner of diversions. One day, the Vikings landed again. They'd come from Alice Springs.
Now it's a tail-for-tail battle. As they head down the course,
There was always the beach, of course. But some days that could be just too disturbing for words. Fremantle clearly enjoyed its newfound celebrity. As the separate Challenger and Defender series stretched from weeks into months, the crowds began to pour in from all over the world. As the final Challenger round-robin began, it was still New Zealand's Kiwi Magic showing everyone the maritime equivalent of a clean pair of heels, still beaten only once.
There's a rip in Italia's spinnaker and it blows apart. Azora attacks. It's going to be close. It's a collision, a direct hit.
It was in this round, inevitably, that the casualties came thick and fast.
Dragging behind. And Canada 2's having trouble with their Genoa.
The doctor was killing them off.
Fast snap just 30 feet above the deck. The crew's struggling. Now this is an interesting way to reef.
Only 4 challenging yachts from the initial 13 could progress to the semi-finals. For the New York yacht plant's America 2, probably the richest syndicate here, the pressure was on. She had to win this final race to survive.
Approaching the wing mark, America 2 leads by 4 boat lengths. Chris Dixon's been moving up, but so far John Coleus Jim has done a really good job holding back.
Boat draws even with the slower boat, US 46, and Kiwi Magic a 34-second swing around that 6th mark. America 2 from 20 seconds ahead to 14 seconds behind. And you wonder, Gary, the thoughts going into the crew of America 2. They've trained in these waters for this moment for over 2.5 years.
Jim, they simply can't think of the final outcome. They have to keep attacking. Even though New Zealand is ahead, there's still a chance to catch up. Boy, New Zealand's really pushing it to the limit, pulling that spinnaker down at the last possible instant. They need every second they can get.
And around that 7th mark, it's an 8-second lead for the Plastic Fantastic. Kiwi Magic heading for home.
America 2 is struggling to get its breeze clear. New Zealand on the right tacks directly on top of John Coleus, and Coleus tacks away. Just 15 seconds separates the 2 boats. I never thought I'd see the day that the New York Yacht Club would not be competing in the America's Cup.
we congratulate the Alinghi crew on their outstanding achievement in qualifying for the America's Cup final.
5 years, 132 of them actually holding the cup, the immovable object had crumbled. The New York Yacht Club were out. Suddenly one discovered that the great autocratic monolith was flesh and blood after all.
It was a close race, it was an exciting race, and we really gave it our best. And you know, the thing you have to realize is that there are 17 syndicates here. And
Also heading for a chilly northern winter, Canada. Each beaten sailor was wrapping up between 18 months and 3 years of his life. It's a hard game, the America's Cup. Fremantle thanked them publicly.
There's a feeling we've come out of this in the first division and that the standard was good enough, the margin was so close, and we must use this group and what we did as a basis for the future rather than go away here despondent.
It doesn't take $16 or $20 million to pull one of these things off. It takes a fast boat and some dedicated people. We had the dedicated people. We needed a little more speed in our boat. It came to us quite late.
The romantic notion of steering by Lone Star and Sexton is shattered the moment you peer into a 12-meter. Banks of computers make it seem like the cockpit of a jet fighter. Likewise, sailmaking has moved on from ancient craft to high-tech science. Many of these sails are so strong that a high-velocity rifle bullet couldn't penetrate them, and yet their effective lifespan is only 25 hours, and often less. The one constant remains the human factor.
The guys have to be in tremendous shape, and that's where their aerobics and their weight training and their nutrition and their physical ability and being in fantastic shape really pays off, so that they can perform just as well at the end of the day as they do in the beginning. We can tack this boat without ever saying a word. We wouldn't even interrupt their latest story. They just can tell inherently, oh, this is a lot of fun, isn't it?
But to some, sailing against Connor isn't fun either.
No, I'm not friendly with Dennis. There's a lot of people in the world that I am friendly with, but if I never say another word to Dennis, it's okay with me. I don't like him personally.
On the water. And who's his semi-final opponent? Tom Blackaller and USA.
USA has an early lead, Jim, but these breezes coming up might favor Dennis Connor's Stars and Stripes. Blackaller's boat is certainly the most revolutionary boat here, and he has trouble maneuvering the thing with the rudder in the bow. Round the second mark, Blackaller comes up on the breeze and makes a nice turn, but Dennis Connor is catching up. He holds his spinnaker to the last moment. He really wants to win this race, and he senses that his boat has the speed to do it, but the waves aren't cooperating as they slow him down a little bit there. Here it is, Stars and Stripes on the right, tacks directly underneath USA. A half a mile to the finish line now, and Stars and Stripes takes the lead.
Takes the lead, Gary, for the first time in the entire race. The San Francisco 12 leading for almost 24 miles. But now, just meters from the finish line, the blue boat from San Diego in front to stay, and this could be the turning point of the entire series.
Jim, you're right. Blackaller goes out, and Connor goes on.
The rivalry between the two men had been intense throughout their yachting careers. Connor's riposte this time was a whitewash, a 4-0 semi-final triumph that brought a sardonic salute from Blackaller. At the outset of the Louis Vuitton Challenger Series, you could have got big odds against French Kiss making the semi-finals. But when they got there, they themselves seemed almost fatalistically relaxed. New Zealand, though, never lacked confidence.
As a group, we're leading this regatta. We don't want to make a mistake and find that at a later point someone else is leading the regatta. We'd like to stay out front. We'd like eventually, if we possibly can, to win the regatta, and then we're going to turn around and ask what the trophy is.
Well, the immediate trophy is for the champion challenger, the Louis Vuitton Cup. With the British, the Italians and the second French syndicate already out, French Kiss had been Europe's last hope. Her fatalism was fully justified. Having come so far, she'd failed to win a race in a semi-final. Another whitewash. New Zealand 4-0. The popular support for the...
And we can only do our best every day to do that.
Effectively, Australia's defence was now down to 3 boats. Well, 2 really. The Kookaburras were flying, but Sydney's Steak and Kidney, with a catastrophic mix-up over keels, had come to form too late. But as always, Bondi's boxing kangaroo was raring for a fight. But on the racecourse, in fact, even before they reached it, the gloves came off. In these waltzing pre-race manoeuvres, an integral part of 12-metre tactics, considerably more was going on than was apparent to the innocent eye.
Kookaburra 3 is a little bit more aggressive, trying to push Australia 4 over the starting line. The name of the game is to be the first boat to the starting line with a little bit more speed. The 2 boats head up for the breeze.
And as they do, Gary, just 65 seconds until the gun goes off. Meanwhile, the mating dance of the lead-bottom money gobblers continues. And on board K3, a good live shot with race cam as we look at Australia 4.
Protest hails here in Murray. Not many words are being spoken, but there's a protest.
The red flag of protest was being seen so often that it was causing landlubber Australians misgivings. What was going on out there? Fratricide? Not really. The rules governing 12-metre yachting are endless, intricate, and protestable in front of a jury as in no other sport. It was now a straight fight between the 2 hometown Perth syndicates, Kookaburra and Australia 4.
On the 8th leg, heading for home, it's the stretch drive to the finish. Australia 4 on the right, Kookaburra 3 on the left. They're just meters apart. K3 tacking to clear A4's air. And can you believe it, a collision just meters from the finish line.
Australia 4 goes on to win the race, but anytime you get into a protest situation, particularly when there's a collision, 1 boat can be disqualified. In this case here, Australia 4 altered course, blocking Kookaburra 3 when she made her tack. I wouldn't want to be Colin Bichel on Australia 4 facing the jury after that situation.
The Kookaburras actually hired a British legal advisor to exploit the red flag situations. And she flew so many of them that she was close to becoming a floating Kremlin. She had her Big Brother cameras on board to record every incident. Spinnaker, according to the Kookaburras, illegal. It led straight to the protest room again. Australia.
I can't understand, Jim, why Australia 4 has put herself in this position. Kookaburra 3 is now on the inside, and Australia 4 is having trouble getting to the committee boat. It was a nice move by Gilmore, but a bad one by Bichel.
Just seconds before the start, and Bichel in such a big race, this doesn't make any sense, Gary. He lost all his composure.
I think he just clutched, and the pressure here is finally getting to him. He had to win this start, and Kookaburra 3 now drifts across the starting line. They'll accelerate to full speed while Colin Bichel is forced to bear away, jibe, and then accelerate to full speed. This is a major mistake by Alan Bond's team, and Kookaburra 3 now has a 6-boat length lead, and the gun has just gone off.
Kookaburra were to win the best-of-9 Defender Series by the ultimate margin, 5 straight victories. It was a stunning achievement, but of course, it invested in her and Ian Murray an awesome responsibility, defending for the nation a trophy that someone else had won. But who will they meet? New Zealand came in person to put the fear of God, or someone, into Dennis Conner. They were fast enough to pounce and take the third race when Conner suffered gear failure. But this is the telling race.
Stars and Stripes tacks directly on top of Kiwi Magic. This maneuver is aggressive and it's called the slam dunk, the term borrowed from basketball. Conner is now blocking Chris Dixon's win, and the Kiwis are struggling.
A huge spectator fleet watching. There are Kiwi rooters, and there are Stars and Stripes supporters. And the seas, as you can see, are lumpy. This is Conner kind of conditions.
And the jib on Stars and Stripes rips in half. The waves are 7 feet, and they've torn that sail apart. Conner tells his crew to go forward to get the jib down and get a new one flying. Meanwhile, the Kiwis are catching up. What a mess, Jim.
And things could get messier in these swelling seas. A less experienced crew might panic. But on board Stars and Stripes, most of this bunch has been together for over 13 years. Things very calm, very quiet, and still very confident.
I think Dennis Conner must have ice water in his veins to stay so cool under pressure like this.
Some of that ice water must be melting because the Kiwis drawing ever so closer now. KZ7 catching up.
And the crew on Stars and Stripes lets the old sail go. They let it drift in the Indian Ocean. Stars and Stripes on the right on port tack does not have the right of way. Kiwi Magic is on starboard, and they're trying to catch up desperately. Dennis Conner must cross ahead if he hopes to get to the next mark first. And now the jib is going up on Stars and Stripes. The crew has done it. They've cleared the old sail away, and they've got a new one flying. And Kiwi Magic tacks to leeward and is behind.
Mark, the camera angle deceiving. It looks as if Kiwi Magic is much closer than they actually are. Clearly in front, the blue boat from San Diego stretching out the lead. Stars and Stripes. It's a must-win situation for Chris Dixon and his crew.
The pressure's starting to show on Kiwi Magic as their crew can't get that spinnaker pole to fly correctly. Oversteering has been the problem today as Chris Dixon is making one error after another in these big seas. That's the difference. The spinnaker on Kiwi Magic, Jim, is called a Jenniker. It's made for reaching, and now New Zealand is going slower, so they changed that sail to a more conventional sail that's a little bit more rounded. But the crew is goofing it up. They're making another crew mistake, and Stars and Stripes is stretching out her lead, approaching the 7th and final mark. Boy, it's a long day aboard the Kiwi Magic. Right now they're sailing about 3 knots slower, and they have 2 sails flying, and neither one should be up.
Yet another mental mistake in this crucial race for the Kiwis. On board Stars and Stripes. They're heading now to the 7th mark. Their 14-second lead has been sliced in half. Prematurely, surprisingly, on board Stars and Stripes, they take the spinnaker down as the huge spectator fleet waits and watches.
Dennis Conner is sailing very conservatively. He doesn't want to make any crew errors, but he loses distance to keep control of the race. Stars and Stripes jives around to come up on the wind.
Only 6 seconds behind down. Oh, can you believe it? Kiwi Magic has hit the mark. Under the rules, Kiwi Magic must reround. Meanwhile, on the horizon, Stars and Stripes continues to stretch out her lead. Back at the mark, Kiwi Magic after that costly error by the youngest skipper in the America's Cup competition.
Stars and Stripes takes the gun. Dennis Conner takes the series 4-1. Chris Dixon is disappointed, but it was a great series by Kiwi Magic. These guys will be back, and they know they've done a good job.
Campaigning, Dennis Conner had won the right to conduct some unfinished business. No praise could be too high for New Zealand's initial assault on the America's Cup. They brought skill and inventive flair. They brought a young skipper destined for future headlines.
We have concluded today 223 races. It was quite an historic performances and I think it will go on the Guinness of Records. 223 races, very successful for sure in selecting the two best yachts for the finals of the Louis Vuitton Cup and the best challenger for the America's Cup 87.
So, after 4 months of immaculate organisation for Dennis Conner and Stars and Stripes, the Louis Vuitton Cup presented by Oral. He won it too, but now it was gone.
Dead even start as they cross the starting line, but Stars and Stripes has the better position on the left side of the course. The wind is shifted 30 degrees, and Dennis Conner takes advantage of the wind shift. On board Kookaburra 3, Ian Murray is taking the helm from Peter Gilmore, who's now trimming the main. He senses that there's trouble because they're a little bit behind.
The winds were for the man who exploited them best, and that man was Conner. After 4 months of brilliant duels, it was less a race than a processional. Undeniably an anticlimax of the kind so often seen in big sport. The reason, of course, was that these boats had been kept as distant as heavyweight boxers. There was no benchmark of relative performance. Stars and Stripes, 1-0. But it is the best of 7.
Stripes is faster going upwind and also faster sailing downwind with the spinnaker up as they approach the second mark.
Stars and Stripes, 2-0.
Kookaburra 3 on the left is on starboard tack and has the right of way. Dennis Conner on Stars and Stripes on the right when port tack must stay clear. And then Ian Murray wheels his boat around and tacks directly on top of Stars and Stripes. The Australian boat is a little bit faster maneuvering, and Ian Murray is using that advantage.
But it was transitory triumph. Conner simply changed gear and surged ahead again. 3-0.
Comes up. This boat is not only faster to win, but it's also proving to be. On board Kookaburra 3, though, things look pretty quiet. The crew seems to have given up. They look like, to me, they've admitted defeat.
In 30 years of watching sport, much of it in Australia, I have never seen a welcome so warm, so generous, so unstinted, so spontaneous as that which greeted Stars and Stripes, the pirate who'd come to get it back.
A great moment for the Stars and Stripes team, and a great moment for the Stars and Stripes crew, and a great moment for Dennis Conner. We traveled